So after our last video on part 3, I totally blitzed part 4. And well, the notebook is back. Hey guys, welcome to our book discussion. I'm Sarah and this is Kevin. On this channel, we will be reading books from fantasy and science fiction genres and documenting our thoughts as we go along. We're currently working on Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn, and today's video is part 4. So let's get into it.
Kelsier, no!
Oh, you're just going straight to the end of part 4, I see. Wow, I mean, I brought the notebook. We can't go straight to the end.
Hey, you wanted my involvement, right?
Yes, yes. So anyways, part 4, Vin starts out in pain, as she did in part 3. This seems to be a trend. It's like it hurts so good for her. She's thinking, maybe I can turn this into a skill of some sort.
Pain is power.
Yes, yes. Because it's been like, what, 2 weeks since the incident with the whole Step Garrison, and they've moved the army to a new location and kind of gotten that settled for the moment, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, but, you know, once again, there's questioning as to whether they should continue going, at least from the crew. Kelsier, he remains determined.
Yes.
He's probably more determined than ever.
Yeah, that hurt him turning away.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's pretty determined, and he has the perfect event in which to stoke the flame of inspiration amongst his crewmen, because we have our first public execution.
And the fountains ran red with blood.
Yeah, wasn't there like 28 deaths? I tried to count.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah.
Because they just said, like, carts.
Well, no, but there were like 4 more. 4 more. So I was trying to count how many 4 mores there were, but I'm not good at math, so who knows. But we also learned at this public execution who Vin's father is. Yes. He is not just any old obligator.
He's the lead.
Yeah, he's the Lord Prelon. So he's like the leader of the ministry. And yeah, that's
pure blood there.
Something's going on with that. There's going to be some kind of encounter, I feel, later on in our series, in the trilogy. I don't know. There's something. Because this is like the second mentioning of him.
So you're thinking there's going to be some sort of reunion?
I don't know. A face-to-face.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean... Also, apparently, the Lord Ruler made an appearance. Well, he didn't, but his carriage did.
Well, he was in there.
He was in there, and he was working his metal burning capabilities, which apparently he can affect others even when they're burning metals.
That's debated at the point.
Yeah, at this point it's debated. What was I saying? So, if people are burning metals, they can be affected by other people burning metals, but I thought the metals were supposed to serve as kind of like a protection.
Well, copper is supposed to make people not be able to sense you.
Sense you burning or sense your presence?
Sense you burning. And it's supposed to protect you from, like, the emotional stuff.
Right, which
a coin shot would still kill you.
Right, right. But he was like soothing the crowd. Mm-hmm. Because Kelsier countered by rioting the crowd.
Well, he rioted the crew.
The crew.
And then Vin kind of
assisted him. Because he clearly was struggling. Right? Mm-hmm. Did I interpret that correctly?
He wasn't... It was a struggle probably, but it wasn't like a death struggle with it.
Right. So in him rioting the crew... And I mean, I know there was a distance between him, the crew, and the Lord Ruler. Could the Lord Ruler feel if somebody was rioting? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there like a distance? Like, you can only sense people if they don't have their copper on and they're within a certain amount of feet? I don't know. Is there like rules and regulations?
Well, so I will say Sanderson makes hard magic systems, so there are a lot of rules to it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily hear all the rules, at least at first, but he definitely follows a rule system with it.
Okay. But he doesn't like lay them out.
Well, you get enough of the rules to where you know, but then he leaves enough to where, you know, it can still wow you.
Right. Okay. So now with Kelsier having the crew fired back up, the new focus is the house war, which I think in the last video you asked if I thought that there was going to be one, and I was like, we're kind of far along in the book and it's just gearing up. Well, you also warned that Sanderson has a way of just making things happen all of a sudden, and so we are pretty much in a house war at this point. And the head of the houses is Venture, and the second largest is Hastings, correct?
I believe so.
And they have also decided that with the garrison being out of the city, still looking for their rebellion, they have a better chance of taking over the city through acquiring the treasury.
Yeah.
Because with the treasury comes the army.
The time is now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Strike while the iron's hot. Yeah.
While the cat's away, the mouse will play.
Right. So, we're doing a house war. They're focusing on, which house are they focusing on? I think they're focusing on any one that they can get to fall, right?
Basically, they don't really care who.
Yeah, because we've already lost the Tekiel house.
Yeah.
And it would seem that the next target and failure is going to be the Hastings house.
Maybe the next target, but
yeah,
yet to be seen on
whether they fail or not. So in the middle of all this house war junk, we learn what the 9th metal is. Gold. I mean, I guess I should have figured that. It wasn't on the list, and it's a pretty prominent metal.
It's definitely a metal.
Yeah. It's a weird one, though. I mean, I get what I read the words, I understand the words, but I don't quite know. Is she seeing her past self? Is she seeing her present/future self? Or
that one's confusing.
Yeah, well, and Kelsier even says it's a wonky one. But is she seeing the present future one? Because she did she have she had ingested adium prior to learning the gold, because she learns about the 9th metal when they're waiting in an abandoned facility because they're going to have a meetup with Marsh, who has infiltrated the ministry, and he is bringing some knowledge, some insider information. So while they're waiting, she's like, hey, you never told me what the 9th metal was, and it turns out it's gold. And she has her adium, because in case they run into anybody in the meeting. Now, was the gold extra wonky? Because she saw a vision of herself. It was a girl. It sounded like Lord Villette that she was describing, pretty much.
I think it kind of shows you different paths for yourself.
Right.
So it's not really like a solid...
But is it a present, past, or future path? And does the fact that she had consumed the adium...
No, because she wasn't burning that.
She just had it in her. She wasn't quite burning it.
So the way it's kind of described is, how when she ingested the gold, it said there was a new source?
Yes.
You can individually...
Okay.
Let's like any of it.
Okay. So after Vin has her trippy gold experience, and she's kind of like coming off of it, they meet up with Marsh, and it is revealed that the Lord Ruler has soothing stations throughout the city. So that kind of explains why the ska are just so
beat down
and what's the word? Just willing, obedient, I guess. And apparently these soothers, since all they do is soothe, they're better than breeze.
That's negotiable.
Well, that's what Marsh said. He said that they're better than breeze because that's all they do, and they're not looking to get anything out of.
Well, you could say their expertise is different than breeze.
Right. And then they also have seekers, which is what Marsh is.
To find
go ahead.
To find mistings and mistborn.
Right, and seekers are the burners of bronze. Okay. So that pisses off Kelsier. He's like, well, that explains a lot. So now, in addition to the house war, an addendum to the plan is to take out the soothing stations via thieving crews. Right? I mean, we don't really get too much into that plan. It's kind of just in its baby stages of planning.
You know they're doing something, but it's not really detailed.
Yeah. We also learn from Marsh that the Inquisitors, so he thinks, I don't know if it's confirmed, they were once Mistborn, but they have changed. And they age, so they can die.
Yes, they do age.
So
they get more explanation later.
They do.
Maybe not. You get some explanation in this book, but not full.
Right. So the Steel Inquisitors, they're the ones that have like the spikes through their eyes. Okay. And the spikes are made of metal. Okay. But knowing how things work with metal and how it's not wise to wear metal because it can be used against you, why are they walking around with spikes? First of all, how did they even get these spikes in their eyes? Why do they have spikes in their eyes? But anyways, why are they walking around with metal spikes when any of these people who have abilities could just couldn't they just
It don't work that way.
Well, how doesn't it work that way?
Because remember, she wears an earring and Kelsier said it should be fine because as long as it's in your skin or in your system, they can't target
so it has to go through.
That's why the spikes go in the eyes and out the back of the head.
Okay. How does that work with the Terracemen, though? Because their stuff doesn't really go through. It's just on them, from what I imagine.
Yeah. Different things.
Different things. Okay. He also advised, Marsh, that there's some tension between these Inquisitors and the Obligators, and the Inquisitors think they should be rolling everything, and they should be higher up on the food chain.
That is true.
So, that could be like a new element to all this. If you could somehow manage to pit the Obligators and the Steel Inquisitors against each other, that could probably help solve a lot of problems for you. Make things a little bit easier.
I think you're going to like part 5.
Oh, boy.
I'm just saying there might be a thing there.
There might be a thing. Remember, no spoilers. So...
I could be pulling your leg, who knows?
Yeah, well. So anyways. Another thing we had that happened in this part was a ball. Another ball. At Keep Lecale? I don't know. It's one of the names of one of the heirs that Lord Lend was spotted with in a previous part. And they like to go off and have their little guy chats in which they philosophize, in which they discuss philosophy. Oh my gosh. So anyways, in this ball, Villette's new role, she's not really gathering info at this point anymore. She's
trying to spread false
fake news. So she's spreading false information. And when you need something you need to spread, who do you go to? You go to the person who gossips. And in this case, it's Lady Cliss. Right? Right? She's the gossiper. The court gossiper. And so she spreads this news about House Hastings, who's the second highest on the rank, that they are potentially pulling out of the city. Which, if they pull out of the city, that involves breaking a bunch of contracts. And what else? I mean, what would be the other major consequence of them leaving?
I mean, you'd probably be easier to destroy if you're leaving because you'd have your back to your enemies.
Right. But, I mean, are they in alliances with anyone?
Oh, I'm sure.
So that would hurt whoever they're in alliance with.
And might prompt your people you're in an alliance with to take action.
Yeah. So she's spreading this. Lady Kliss cannot contain herself. She must run off and share this information. Of course, she, tells Lady Valette, "Oh, I won't tell nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I won't tell nobody. Excuse me while I go see somebody." So that mission was accomplished for Lady Valette. She also has some time with Lord Lind.
Not much.
Not much. But he is there, and they do manage to get some time together. And
you could tell he's a fool.
He's a fool. He wants her to leave the city because...
I wasn't talking about that.
Well, no. I'm saying he wants her to leave the city because he fears that these house wars are going to really, turn into something.
Well, from what he knows of her, that's not foolish. That's just him caring.
Right. But in his plea to get her to leave, he divulges information about House Venture. And what is that information?
They harvest the adium for Lord Ruler.
Yeah. And apparently it's been a little difficult lately to meet the quota.
Yeah. He wants a steady supply.
Right. Yeah. So he's a bit concerned that their house could potentially be targeted. And then since she's been associating with him and Lord Renault, he doesn't really have, the established alliances. So he's kind of like a sitting duck.
Mm-hmm.
So he's concerned because he cares for her. Remember, he gave her the handkerchief. But she's all like, "I'm not going to leave because I'm really, working behind the scenes and kind of know all this already. I didn't know the adium part, but this is useful. I'll let Kelsier know." And then she warns him about Lady Shane.
He kind of blows it off.
Yeah. Because, he probably thinks that their houses are in alliance somehow. But, yeah, so by them mining the adium, are they like the managers of the pits?
They are in control of the pit, yeah.
Okay. Do they decide who goes there?
I think that's more of
or they just, once the people are there, they are the overseers.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that.
And make sure they do the job and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she warns him about Lady Shane's plan. She thinks Lady Shane is out to get him. He's like, "No, whatever.
She's right."
Yeah, she is right. So it's also... I thought he maybe was wanting to rise up his own rebellion, and maybe still does, but I get in this young Lord Lind, he's thinking more like, I don't want to overthrow the Lord Ruler, I just want there to be change once I'm in a position of power to influence and have a say.
He doesn't necessarily want to break the system, he wants to change the system.
Right. So, that's what I get from that. Alright, so with her time after Lord Lind, because he had to run off and have one of his guy talks, his lad moments, in order to try and get more information about Lady Shane's plan, Lady Valette goes to speak with her, but in typical rude, bitchy fashion is informed that her services are no longer needed. Exactly. And she just gets the blow off. And I'm just like, I just want to smack the hooey right off of this girl.
The hooey.
Well, we're going to revise that. I just want to smack the right out of her. You know? The SH*T out of her.
Okay, we'll go that route. I don't care.
Anyways, so nothing really happens at the ball other than she spreads the false information. We learn that the Venture household is the administrators of the pits.
Yeah, that was a really small kind of event for...
But it's kind of major. I feel it could be major.
No, I'm just saying, like, at that point, it wasn't
Right.
very...
I mean... And apparently... Let me go back to the whole them having an administration of the pits. Apparently they've been struggling to meet the quota because of a previous event, but the previous event is not quite explained. It's not explained. It's just kind of like we're left hanging. What is this previous event that...
Maybe it has something to do with the survivor.
I'm thinking it does. I really do. Given what he ends up doing later in part 4, makes me wonder if maybe he hasn't done it before. I don't know. Flipping the page. So, when Elend departs his conversation with Valette and she goes off and gets, waved away. Scenery change. We go to the man cave where the young lords are having their conversation. And they suspect that Lady Valette is a house spy. They're not quite sure about her. I mean, they're right in their suspicion. She's not a lady,
Yeah.
But they think she's a house spy, which is...
Wrong.
Well, is it though? Because she's Lady Valette of House Renault. She's kind of another house spying. But anyways, so, his friend... Is it Lord Justice?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I don't know. Which house is he with? Is he with Hastings?
I honestly don't remember.
Or is he Lacal? I don't know. Anyways, he ends up putting a spy, a PI, on her carriage. And turns out she's not in it when Sazed is presenting the papers to the gatemen to get out.
Because when Ellen was going to go to bed that night, the servant was like, "You have a visitor."
Yes, and it's Justice informing him of this information. But prior to that, before Justice comes over and visits and informs him of this, he has a meeting with his father.
Asshole.
Yeah, he doesn't really like Lady Valette and doesn't want Ellen to associate with her. And he still thinks Ellen is just doing all these things to...
Spite him.
But, and he's over it. He's just like, whatever, boy. I can't. In fact, I have a quote that gives his true feelings of how for his son. Shall I share? I think I will, because I think it's foreshadowing to the later event involving Lady Shane. So, Lord Venture, Elend's father, I don't know why I care. Anything you learn is bound to be worthless. I tried to train you in politics, boy. I really did. But now, well, I hope I live to see you dead, because this house is in for dire times if you ever take control.
Such love.
Such love. And then I say foreshadowing because later on...
At the next ball,
it's revealed that there's been a hit put out on Lord Elend. Who reveals this, by the way? The court gossiper, Lady Clist. She's actually an informant. She's an informant. And she knew that the rumor that Valette was telling her was false. She also kind of is hesitant to reveal this hit against Lord Elend and learns that Valette is a misting. She
doesn't know Mistborn.
She is misting because Valette's just like, I'm sick of these politics and protocol, and she just starts freaking, I don't know what she burns to gather the information.
I think she soothes her.
Yeah, try to get her to talk. And she's like, ooh, a misting, you know, more information. Actually, she's like, ooh, an allomancer, or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, so it turns out, yeah, there's a hit on Lord Lind. It's Lady Shane who's going to be performing, it's the house of Lady Shane who's supposed to be performing the hit. Turns out Lady Shane is one of the hit women. And she's a Mistborn.
And there's a whole, fist of them. Not all Mistborn, but there's a whole squad.
There's there's a whole crew, but I think there's only 2 Mistborn on the crew. It's her and some other.
If I remember right, I think it's 2 Mistborn, 2 Cornshot, 2 Thug.
Right. I don't know. But apparently the hit was arranged, according to Lady Kliss, by Lord Straff Venture, Elend's father.
Mm-hmm.
Because he would rather give the house over to his nephew. But Lady Kliss, being Lady Kliss, she's like, that's going to really suck, though, if this does go through, because they're going to come in and they're going to find all those books that Lord Elend has been reading that are anti-LR.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to look good for House Venture.
And I think this is one of Vin's shining moments so far. When she goes after the squad.
Yeah.
And then she pierces their copper cloud, because the Mistborn were burning copper.
Right, so they wouldn't be detected.
And she detected them and basically took them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she paid for it, but she took them out. Pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Before that, though, the ball was quite awkward, because we also learned that it's going to be the last ball for quite some time.
Tensions are high.
Tensions are high. Nobody's wanting to talk to nobody unless they're already aligned.
And then Elend gave her a complete cold shoulder.
Yes, he blew her off because when Justice informed him of she's not in the carriage, she went off somewhere, she must be a house spy, Lord Elend put his own spies on her.
Made a deal with his dad
that I'll go to this frickin' thing that you've set up in order to try to form alliances and get me hitched. In exchange, I want some people put on this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so he learned things. We don't know what he's learned at this point. But at the ball, he informs her that he knows things.
Mm-hmm.
And he can no longer be associated with her. And that it wasn't a game, he did care, but it's for the best if they just call it quits.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I didn't even realize there was something to call quits. I mean, I knew they liked each other, but they weren't courting, were they? I mean, I know the handkerchief isn't the handkerchief just a sign that I want to court you? That doesn't make it official, right?
It might. I don't
know. But anyways, he blew her off, gave her the cold shoulder, and after this is when she learned that there was a hit against his life, and yet she still. Mm-hmm. Because she had her epiphany that I love him. And so she went off to save the day. Why are you laughing at me? Anyway, so yeah, it's not going to be, all the houses are canceling their balls. So this is kind of, the house war is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she goes, she gets in her big encounter with Lady Shane. Let me tell you what. I was reading it and I was just because I'm and in my head I'm just I'm playing Mortal Kombat and I'm all finish her, and we're just get her,
well, she did.
Her. She got her. But then I started having doubts. I have doubts because, Vin was severely injured at the Credit Shaw? I can never remember that. Credit Shaw conflict. she was really hurt. And the thing that saved her was besides Sazed, was she was burning pewter.
Okay.
And now that we know that Lady Shane is a Mistborn, if she knows such things, how do we know she wasn't burning pewter too? And she could still very well be okay.
If I remember right, it sounds like she was stabbed through the heart a couple times.
I don't know. I don't remember. Did it say if it was like through the heart? But then again, there's another person in this part who gets stabbed in like vital regions and manages to just keep on keeping on, you know. We'll get to it. But anyways, so I don't know. I really hope she's dead because we all know I do not appreciate her at all. But I don't know. I have my little doubts there because it also seems like it was epic, but it wasn't epic enough. It seemed too fast, too quick.
Well, how long do you expect the fight to last?
Well, I don't know. See, this would be the time when you could pull a Nathaniel Hawthorne and go all Scarlet Letter and take a few pages to describe this fight. And I'd be like, yes, let's do it. But anyways. So then in Vin, she goes back to the hangout. And they're like, what in the hell? Because she's like pretty much down to her undergarments.
I like Dox's reaction.
He's just, well, poor Dox. Because he has to be the one to like come up with all the equipment and all the outfit and all the attires. And he's the accountant also.
But also at that point, I don't think he's aware that, you know, that was the last ball anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't know. But he's just like, what are you doing? And then, you know, she's like, oh, I think I killed her, Lady Shane. And they're just like, oh, by the way, she's a Mistborn, and she had another Mistborn with her. And their jaws just drop even more.
And then she goes into her...
she starts getting lectured by Kelsier because they've been telling her, stay away from that Lord of Lynn. He's no good for you, and blah, blah, blah. And she just loses her mind. And she goes off on them about how y'all don't know nothing about being Ska. You are essentially noble folk yourself. You don't know. So shut the hell up and leave me alone.
When was the last time you were about to starve?
When was the last time y'all were going to be sleeping on the street and all that other good stuff? So she gets pissed off and storms off and has a moment. Mm-hmm. Kelsier lets her have a moment, but then he goes up to check on her and they converse. And, you know, she's also scared because when all this Lord Ruler takedown happens, everybody's going to go their separate ways. And she has nobody. Yeah. There's going to be change. She's the forward march of time, you know?
It's one of those, she's come to really enjoy the crew.
Right, you know.
She doesn't want to see it disperse.
Exactly. So she's got that going on, too. And I get it.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah.
Like, you think your high school crew is going to be, like, forever.
Yeah. It's like you think you have all this time, and then...
You really don't.
Next thing you know, like Pink Floyd says, 10 years have got behind you. Ugh. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. You know? Shorter of breath and one day closer to death. I mean, so time marches on. Wow, I just did quite a few songs there, didn't I? Yeah. Anyways, so she's got that on her mind. She's loving Alind, and his house might be potentially taken out. And at this point, she doesn't even know. I think she knows he's survived, but you really don't, because someone does go through the roof. But of course, they're going through because they've gotten the crap kicked out of them by Vin.
I'm pretty sure that was a corpse at that point.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So she goes off on them, but then when she's finally a little bit more calm, her and Kelsier have a moment. She shares the Adium secret. She also talks to him about the piercing of the copper cloud, which he doesn't say is a thing.
And then she demonstrates.
Yeah, she does it on him, and he's like, So is she not your average Mistborn? Is she like... extra special?
She's exceptionally powerful in Allomancy.
Okay. Well, we know her father's powerful, because he's the Lord Prolon. But we don't know about her mom. But her mom's a Ska, so she would have had no Allomancy, right?
But it's still passed down to her rather strong. Because you'd think, like, the original Allomancers would be, like, top tier.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it goes down to blood, you can imagine it gets watered down, so to speak.
Yeah.
And hers was such a pure source, basically.
Because of the...
Lord Prelane.
Mm-hmm.
That it kind of really hit.
Okay.
So, like, Kelsier has her in experience, but in, like, raw power, he would lose.
But she could gain the experience. And then...
Yeah, she will eventually gain the experience to...
So then she would surpass him. Because they're not quite equal right now, because she doesn't have the experience... Well, maybe they are. Well, I don't know, because he's got the experience, but she's got the...
Depends on the fight.
Yeah.
Because I think he has better control over, like, certain things.
She's still learning everything.
It hasn't even been a year for her.
I know.
So...
But with the copper cloud piercing... Mare, Kelsier's wife, she may not have actually
it's pretty much
betrayed him,
yeah.
because the Inquisitors apparently can do this.
Yeah.
So which when we say when they're piercing the copper cloud, it's essentially the copper that's being burned to mask their allomancy.
It's not masking them.
It's not doing anything. So they probably, the Inquisitors and the Lord Ruler, who also apparently can do it too, probably sensed them coming.
Yes.
And since she was probably the one burning the copper, and he was able to pinpoint who was burning the copper, that's why he could be like, thanks, Mare, for leading me to your husband.
I don't think she was burning copper. I think their copper cloud guy died earlier.
He did.
I don't remember what she was burning.
Oh, yeah, because originally Kelsier thought maybe it was their smoker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who tipped off the Lord Ruler. But he died before they even... And he didn't know anything, really.
Yeah.
Other than show up at this time and this date.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. So are we saying Mare could still potentially be the betrayer?
I don't think she betrayed him. I think it was just... They didn't understand what they were going against fully.
Right. Okay. So then they have another meeting with Marsh. But prior to the meeting with Marsh, they visit some ska because apparently Vin's, y'all don't know nothing about nothing moment got to Kelsier, and he's been visiting the ska tenements. And so they go visit one, and she had
to turn off her 10.
It's kind of weird. He's getting this, like, Messiah-like response from the ska. Like, they're all like, kiss my baby, Lord Kelsier.
Can I touch your arm?
Let me touch your hair, Ah.
The scars.
Ooh, the claw. I mean, it's just like... So, it's not helping my thinking that he could potentially end up in the position of ruler. They could vote him into power.
Well, at that point.
Yeah. I'm just... And he has another moment later in which that just helps build the Messiah myth.
Well, let's carry on.
We shall carry on. Guess what else I read? And now I have a better picture. The pits. It's not just a pit. See, I picture it as a plateau. So like a plateau. But it's got like the cracks in it. And then they have to like shimmy down in the cracks. And the cracks are like, meep, meep. Like, I couldn't fit because these things wouldn't allow me to. And they have to just like shimmy down and like find the holes, because the holes have the crystals which contain the adium, and then the lines are because they have to puncture to get to the adium. But anyway, so now I have a better vision for the pits. Plateau, really small cracks. I couldn't do it. I'd be too claustrophobic, and like I said, blessings. So, and while we're learning this and I am developing this picture of the pits, Kelsier comes in and just destroys it. So I don't even know if my vision still is going to be correct.
Because if you use allomancy around the geodes, they get destroyed.
Right. That's why those with allomancing powers can't mine.
Yep.
So he pretty much destroys it, and in destroying it, he's now set the empire back economically, because it takes the crystals like centuries to grow, and in that growing period, they're not creating adium.
I think it's like 300 years or something.
So financially, the empire is screwed.
Hurting.
Yeah. And in response to said destruction, we have a second public execution. Well, we don't quite get to that part because there's a battle.
Well, in the carts is like Lord Renault and the whole
House Renault staff.
Spook.
The
servers, the maids, all the scoff.
They've all been taken prisoner.
Yep.
They're the ones to be executed. But not before Kelsier gets in there
and then he has that little comment to Vin when she's trying to tell him to...
Don't do it.
Yeah.
He's like, you still don't know what this is about.
You still don't understand friendship.
Yeah, friendship.
I hope one day you do.
Because, I mean, I don't think it explicitly says friendship. I think it just says you still have no clue what this is about, and I hope one day you do. Because I was thinking, what did he mean? And so I had to kind of reread it, and I'm like, it's got to be friendship. So, in his plan to free the prisoners, he encounters a Steel Inquisitor, and they duke it out.
Now, what's cool is Ham has the foresight to go to one of the garrisons they stationed in there.
With their Skull Rebellion.
And then they came up and started freeing the prisoners from the carts.
Right, and as he's doing that, Breeze is in the background soothing the Lord Ruler's garrison. Hey, this is a Mistborn and a Steel Inquisitor. This is an epic battle. You don't want to get involved.
Well, it's an epic battle, and it's not one that's normally done in daylight.
Exactly.
So this is like the first time people have seen this kind of fight.
Right. So, Kelsier and the Inquisitor are going at it. Of all the people to pop up in the crowd, Elend, he's looking for Lady Villette because it's House Renault, who's all prisoners. And, Kelsier, he can't even believe it, but he's like, she's safe. Go away. He saves him, essentially.
He actually says,
Can't believe I just saved a nobleman. Something along those lines.
Well, in his head, he's like, she loves him. And then he decides he has to...
Because, he understands what it's like to love someone.
Yeah.
Even when you think they're not good for you. So, him and the Inquisitor fight. They battle. And Kelsier...
Finally. They finally kill an Inquisitor.
They do.
By beheading.
By beheading with the Inquisitor's axe. But, before that happens, Lord Renault meets the axe.
Yes.
But, so I'm all like, oh man, Lord Renault, you're gone. But, he's a Khandra, which... I don't know what that is, but according to Docs, that the axe may or may not be a fatal blow.
Right.
I hope it's not. Because then there was also the Khandra thing. There was also a Khandra mentioned earlier. I think a Khandra works for Lord Venture.
Yes.
So, and it's kind of like, from the description, it kind of seems like they're kind of weird looking. I don't know.
Read and find out.
Oh, here we go. We're starting with the Raffo.
Yes. Part 5 will be great for you.
Oh my gosh.
But I like how did you notice the part where Kelsier and Renault have a moment.
Yep, they like make eye contact and kind of like, do the head nod. There's like an understanding.
Part 5 is.
So does that mean I'm thinking now that maybe he's not dead?
Part 5.
You may have just spoiled something.
Give you something to look forward to.
Okay. So yeah. Inquisitor is conquered. The Ska are like, yay, Kelsier! So the Messiah myth continues.
And then
freaking
Doom. You actually get to see the Lord Ruler.
We get to see the Lord Ruler. And I am one to tell you how I envision these people. First of all, when they were describing him, the person I pictured, which if you have not seen Game of Thrones, you're not going to know who I'm talking about. But I pictured Baelish, Littlefinger. I don't know why, but that's who I pictured. But as he's coming through, some of the Ska Rebellion army guys, they're like, this one's for my wife, and they spear him, and he just keeps on walking.
Doesn't even acknowledge.
It doesn't even faze him. And the other one's like, spears him. Then when I pictured that, I pictured freaking Sephiroth from Final Fantasy, like coming out of the flame scene. You know what I'm talking about. Anyone who's played knows what I'm talking about. So I picked, and because it's described that Lord Ruler's wearing black and white Sephiroth, so I mean,
yeah.
But he's like stabbed by the Ska, and he's not even phased. And Kelsier is all like, all right, here we go.
He's smiling.
He is smiling. He's like, let's do this. And everyone else in the crew is like, oh, Lord. Except, I think it was Doxson who was like, this is the moment he's been waiting for. Let it be. Just let it be.
I'm just going to say how right he was that this is the moment he was waiting for.
And this is the moment, yeah. So, they do some banter. And Kelsier pretty much says, you ain't got nothing on me, buddy.
And then he gets the backhanded Doom.
No, he gets the snot slapped out of him. I mean, like literally half of his face, I think, comes off based on the description. Yes. And then he
just nonchalantly.
Yes, the Lord Ruler just pulls out one of them
right
spears and just like, pacha, let the executions commence or something like that.
And then he just walks back to his car.
He just walks away. So now we have Kelsier. Dead, alive, I don't know. Was he burning pewter? Is it another Krennic Shaw moment? Is he really dead? He can't be. He's too important. Or, now I'm having a thought that I didn't think of before. Maybe it's like a torch passing moment, and Vin will now step in as like the leader of the pack. Oh, no, that can't be. I didn't give my proper farewell to Kelsier. I'm going to start crying. He can't be gone.
I can't tell you an answer right now.
She's not ready to be in charge. And you can't have any other crew members do it because they don't have the constant determination. And I really completely forgot to mention before we got to this part, they met up with Marsh after getting a map of the soothing stations, and when they were like going to probably discuss said map with Marsh, they found him assassinated.
So what I can say, part 5, you're going to read in a sitting.
I probably am. It's going to be another blitz. I'll probably do it after this. Well, maybe not, because it is a work night. But
you got this.
It's Friday tomorrow. And my boss is out of town, so I don't have to be too productive at work. Oh, man, no.
I don't know what to tell you to make you feel better, but... And I can't really say anything about anything.
I know.
Because it's all kind of linked.
Well, on that terrible disappointment, we'll see you next time.